Welcome back to episode 227 of the Purple Rain podcast. Yes, episode 227 of the Purple Rain podcast. The J.K. Dobbins episode, the uh
Ooh,
the Ray Rice episode. Yeah. The Asa Jackson, Cyrus Jones episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you all for coming through to this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. You can follow this guy on Instagram, on Twitter at SunDef. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod and on Twitter at simplyas10. Most importantly, our sponsor Manscaped. You can go on there, get yourself something nice. Go ahead and get the shed, get the lawnmower, get the nose and the ear hair trimmer. Get it all. Stack that card high and use code PRP for 20% off your whole order and free international shipping. Sutton, happy Monday. How are you doing?
happy Monday to you, brother, and happy Monday to everybody watching this episode of the right now. Just want to get this out of the way. Make sure you like the video. Like the video. You know, you don't got to subscribe to the channel yet if you haven't heard enough from us, but make sure you like the video because that helps us out a ton and it brings more people to the conversation. So we're going to go ahead and give 5 seconds of silence for a like. Ready and go. So hopefully you like the video by now. My dog is crying in the background because you haven't liked the video. So if you haven't liked it, make sure you do like the video. And I think I just shirt, which is weird. It's crazy, but it's cool. We ball, right? So we are back here for another episode of the Purple Rain podcast. And today, you know, there's not a whole lot of Ravens news per se, but we did just have the NFL Combine, right? So there's a lot of stuff to talk about surrounding that and what the Ravens might do with their picks. So that's what we're here to talk about today, guys. So make sure you drop down below in the comments section all your thoughts on the draft. Who did you like? Who did you not like? Who would you like to see the Ravens go after? Who would you not like to see the Ravens go after? Position-wise, player-wise, all of that. Make sure you drop it down in the live chat. And listen, if you're not watching this episode of the Purple Rain podcast live, and you happen to be part of the hashtag replay, thank you so much for joining this episode. As just as much, make sure you guys like the video as well and subscribe to the channel because it helps us out a ton. Let's go ahead and bring who we have here in the live chat up, though. We have Mod K-Dog, per usual, so smash that damn like button if you're enjoying the content. We appreciate that, Mod K-Dog, each and every time. Dylan in the house says, what's going on, Sutton and Alex? And do y'all think the Ravens bringing in Xavier Worthy, that is, for a visit could be them possibly be preparing for life without Zay Flowers? Interesting take right there. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
We got my guy. What's up, Purple Rain gang? What's going on, Dre? JD Kill Switch in the house as well, and I'm sure many others kind of, you know, trickling on in here. Andrew's in the house too. What's going on, Andrew? Yeah, so I mean, I guess we don't really have to mince words too much, right? I mean, Combine just happened, and there was a couple of interesting developments, you know, outside of the scope of the Baltimore Ravens. I think probably the most interesting development over the was the Xavier Worthy 40 time, 4.21, breaking the record previously held by John Ross at 4.22. That's crazy. What do you think about that, Alex?
That is unreal speed. Like when you think about how fast 4.21 is, yeah, I honestly saw it. I was like, wow, like that's unreal speed. But hopefully it translates to the football field. You know, a lot of those 40 times you see of these players, they've actually turned out to not be the brightest of picks. But for Worthy's case, I hope it is. I hope it's a great pick for whatever team gets him. And speaking of teams that, you know, that get him, the Ravens could very well be interested in him, as we met with him over the weekend at the Combine. Definitely interesting to see. We're going to host him for a top 30 visit. I don't know if he'll be there at 30 if we're there. Not really the prototype of receiver I'm looking the Ravens to get. I guess you can put me on the Keon Coleman train. I am on that train. Big body guy. I know people talk about a separation and what he looked at the Combine, but a big body guy. I need him. I need that with the Ravens for a receiver. We've been saying this for how long? It's just we regurgitate the same topic over and over in the offseason. It feels like because it hasn't been fixed. We haven't had that guy yet, and obviously tackle is going to be there. I heard about it. The O line, great prospects this year. So if we did go O line at 30, not the sexy pick, but you will not hear one bit of complaining from me. But what was your take on Xavier Worthy in that 40 time?
I mean, it's all time, man. I mean, that showing right there, 4.21 is just like I said. I mean, it's history being made, and I do think that record will be broken sometime in the future. And it's just the evolution of these players, the evolution of human beings. To be honest with you, like we get bigger, stronger, faster as time goes on, and that's just the combine is just another measurable of that, so to say, take. But you know what the people say, right? In-game speed is different. Pad speed is different. It really is. And I agree with you. I agree with your sentiment saying that that's not the archetype of receiver that I'm for. I'm a Ravens fan. We've all been on this podcast, whether it be me or you or, other people in the Ravens community or people in our very comment section. We want a bigger body guy. You know what I mean? We want almost like a DK Metcalf archetype of receiver, somebody who can really be Lamar Jackson's security blanket outside of a tight end, because we really haven't had that largely over the past couple of seasons. So Keon Coleman is definitely a name that I'm looking for as well. Another one that Steve Smith Sr. was talking about, Xavier Leggett. I can't. Where is he out of again? Xavier Leggett out of South Carolina. South Carolina. Yes. South Carolina. Had to check my notes on that one, but he is somebody that I'm definitely looking for. Big body guy, and most notably, Steve Smith Sr. said DK Metcalf, but like better. If I'm not, that's what he said. So, I mean, after watching some of his tape too, I do like his game. But if I'm being completely honest with you, and this kind of leads into the second topic here, but we talked about last episode, right? Who we think the Ravens are going to go after first with their first pick at number 30. With how deep the O-line class is this year, do you really see us picking receiver first, or do we go O-line or what?
Today kind of changed my mind. And you can say, well, why today? Because I saw Mike Evans, who was 31 years old, future Hall of Famer, get what, 25 mil, 30 mil a year? It's what, 20? It was 2 years, 52 mil. So it's 26 mil.
2 years, 52
per year. And I just saw that, and I'm like, okay, well, hypothetically speaking, and kind of just realistically, when will a star receiver ever hit free agency? A really, really good one. They won't. You're going to have to develop your receivers. I don't think Justin Jefferson will ever hit free agency. Jamar Chase won't. Tyreek Hill didn't. He got traded. So we're going to have to draft our guy. And with that, and if this draft class is stacked with linemen, then I feel like, second round we can look that way, or maybe make a couple of trades, get some more picks for third round. But I think first round, it might be, if one of the guys they really like is there, I think they'll go receiver. But at the same time, I'm not going to get mad at the tackle, and I can't, because seeing how Ronnie Stanley played last year and seeing just our quarterback not getting time, you got to build that line. And the question marks all around this line right now, especially at guard, we're not looking good.
And see, Alex, the thing is, our offensive line actually was not terrible last season. It really wasn't.
Right.
But the problem is, of course, there's some inconsistencies, and then there's a lot of departures happening as well. I mean, left guard and right guard are two question marks, big old question marks. And, Andrew Voorhees, who, started 25, right guard with the USC. We don't know what he's going to look like yet. I mean, he did have 5 years of playing college football, so he should be a little bit more seasoned, a little less green than most guys coming right out of college, right? But it's still a question mark. But I do like what you said. I mean, since O-lineman is so deep this year, I could definitely see us waiting into maybe the second or the third round to kind of pick up a guy there. And then with that round pick, not to say we're in the position to do this, but I said it last week. It might just be BPA between a couple of different positions, right? Wide receiver, cornerback, or edge. I think that we could realistically go with one of those three positions in the first round if we don't trade out of the first round, which I hope we don't. I want to get some talent in that first round. And I know that Eric DeCosta, he loves his picks, but he also likes to take some swings too. Now, I personally think that it will be wide receiver first round. I think Eric DeCosta was on last year saying that, yeah, we're going to continue to draft wide receiver. We're going to continue to go to that well until we hit big time. Last year, of course, we hit with Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is, I mean, yeah, we don't really know his whole situation right now in terms of if he'll be, ready to play. We all know what's going on there. But
yeah,
even still, man, I mean, we're getting rid of Odell Beckham Jr., which is also something we're going to talk about here tonight. So we're going to need somebody to kind of step up into that role and be that guy. Excuse me. I don't know if we're still expecting Rashad Bateman to be the dude. I mean, I would love for that to happen. I would love for that to happen. John Harbaugh said last week at the Liars Luncheon, saying that, Rashad Bateman is going to get more touches next season, but it's called a Liars Luncheon season. So we'll see if that actually holds true. Yeah. Now, again, I just think that getting a wide receiver in the first round is probably the best way to go if you're the Baltimore Ravens. You have to keep swinging at that position. O-line's going to be deep, right? And O-line's I would go O-line right after that, immediately after that first round pick. Because, again, it is a deep class. The O-line is the foundation of your offensive establishment, to be honest with you. Nothing else works without an O-line. So I agree with you there. I do want to see some of what the chat is saying about this as well. Terry saying got to get Keon Coleman, so he's in agreement with you. Mitchell, I see I've been seeing that name floating around a lot too.
I'm glad you brought him up, Jay. 6'4", I believe, 196, had 55 catches for 845 yards and 11 touchdowns. Projected to be picked late first, early second round.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys. He could potentially be there. Yeah, I mean, that was the first receiver that I heard about in this draft that people were saying, hey, the Ravens should go get this guy. So, I looked into him a little bit. Really love his game. Don't know if he'll necessarily fall to our pick. I'd have to see what is the order of teams right before the Ravens. Can you pull that up?
Yeah, I got you. So the Lions are right ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Then the teams that were knocked out before, but I'll definitely pull it up for us. So what, like the 26 to 29? Is that what we're talking?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be Tampa 26, Arizona 27, Buffalo 28, Detroit 29, and then the Ravens.
Interesting. I can see Arizona or Buffalo going after a receiver.
I can see Buffalo.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
For sure. I mean, because Arizona, they're going to need some help out Kyler Murray in that offense. They're going to need to push all their chips to the middle of the table with this whole Kyler Murray experiment, I think, this go around. And then the Bills, the Bills are also one of those teams that are just knocking at the door. They need one more, I think, big piece. I think it's a running back personally for the Bills, and I think they need to kind of retool their offensive game plan to kind of work around a running back and not have Josh Allen running crazily all over the place. That's just me. And of course, Stephon Diggs, we don't really know the relationship between him and the Bills, him and Josh Allen.
Yeah.
What do you got to say? Yeah.
I don't think he plays for the Bills again.
Really?
Honestly. I think that's going to be one of the blockbuster trades come like May, June, possibly. I don't think, because, there was the thing last year how they just he went AWOL. Nobody knew where he was. Yeah. And kind of just seeing how their season ended this year, losing the Chiefs again in the playoffs. I'm right there with you. Josh Allen, his game, it's a little. Maybe it's, I don't know. I don't think that type of game is going to win you a Super Bowl. And you call me a Ravens fan, but talk about Lamar's game. But from an NFL standpoint, I feel like he tries to play hero ball way too much, and it's not going to win you games. So I think they get a receiver, even if Diggs is going to play next year. But that's one player I'm keeping my eye on, because it feels like it's kind of been building up frustration, and we hear about it in the media, and we haven't heard it from the Bills, but that's definitely somebody who I think I could see him getting traded in the summer. But I think Bills do get a receiver there, 100%.
I mean, I think you have to, man. I think you have to. I mean, like you said, the relationship between Diggs and the Bills has seemingly been strained over the past couple of seasons. They haven't necessarily graced the the games that they want to, i.e. the Super Bowl. And of course we have, but all these teams are like a piece or two away. I think a solid piece or two away from really, really contending for a championship. In the meantime, we do have our first super chat donation of the episode. This one's coming from Cardi, Cash Cardi, that is, dropping the 5-piece in the chat. Make it here. Thank you so much, brother. Says, bring OBJ back. He's got unfinished business at the bank. So I guess now we can kind of transition and talk about this topic here. Ravens will probably not be re-signing Odell Beckham Jr. Alex, how do you feel about that? Do you think that they should bring him back in, or do you think that it's a good idea to kind of leave him to go to his own devices?
Oh man, the heart really wants Odell back. The heart does. You know, I had so much fun watching number 3 in black and purple, doing the dances. It was so much fun. But the mind understands why they would pass on him. You know, they paid him $16 million. Thankfully, they were able to work out a deal where there was no dead cap this year, which is huge. But I think at 30 some catches, 4 touchdowns, made a big first down conversion in the game against the Texans, and had some conversions against the Chiefs. Wasn't, you know, I think he had one game of 100 yards this year against the Bengals. He wasn't a number one guy, but what I will most respect for him is how much of a mentor he was to our younger receivers. I think that's a big reason why Zay Flowers had such a good year. And, you know, he was a big cheerleader for guys like Bateman as well. When Bateman got his touchdown, you know, Odell was right there. I'll miss him. I wouldn't hate him back on a cheaper deal, but I do understand why if we were to, you know, let him go on. But I wouldn't hate if he came back, but at the same time, I do understand it's business. What's your feelings?
I say we don't bring him back. I mean, all that money, guy who, like you said, 100-yard receiving game, 4 touchdowns. More of kind of like just a classic veteran presence, you know what I mean? And you have to produce. This would be like me saying, like, you know, let's bring back Jadeveon Clowney, even though he only had 3 sacks, but he got a lot of pressures. You know, he was really coaching up the guys out there. You know what I mean? But like, he didn't really produce, right? So I think that Odell Beckham Jr., especially for the price point, it's not worth bringing to Baltimore. I get what you're saying, Cardi. There is unfinished business. And I was just thinking about this yesterday. Like, damn, I feel so sorry for, well, not necessarily sorry, but like, I just feel kind of bad for Odell. You know what I mean? Because like, it was kind of like a fairy tale season for him. You know, he kind of did the same thing with the Rams, went to the Super Bowl, went all the way with them. Of course, he got hurt in that Super Bowl, but still got his ring, had a touchdown, was impactful throughout the playoffs and in that Super Bowl game. Damn near made the Super Bowl again in the opposite conference, right? With a Lamar Jackson at quarterback, that would have been absolutely amazing for his career. Exactly. That would have been amazing for Beckham Jr.'s career. So yes, there is unfinished business, but I don't think that business will ever get finished between the Baltimore Ravens and Odell Beckham Jr. Because again, man, I mean, you just have to produce in this league. It's a facts over feeling league, to be honest with you. And you just kind of have to call it for what it is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 35 catches, 565 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then 4 catches for 34 yards in the playoffs. Missed 3 games, so played in 14 games. I'll be honest, over 500 yards for him as a second receiver, a third receiver in a new offense. I don't hate it. It's honestly better than maybe what I was expecting. But just for the price tag, I mean, if the price is right, I wouldn't hate him back. And now I'm going to move on now to an article, you know, you bring up Odell Beckham Jr. People saying Michael Thomas as a fit in Baltimore. And I'm going to say some stuff right now. Don't kill me yet. Michael Thomas to Baltimore is the perfect fit for the Ravens because it matches every single thing they care about. A veteran receiver who was a top 5 receiver at one point in the league, can't stay healthy anymore, and very minimal production. That screams a Baltimore Raven veteran wide receiver. It's Jeremy Maclin 2.0 kind of, except Maclin wasn't a top 5 receiver. But this literally fits the Baltimore Ravens and what they look for in a veteran. He had 39 catches for 448 yards last year and 1 touchdown. He didn't play in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, missed the final 7 games of the Saints season. I take Odell over Michael Thomas at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see it.
when you're talking about, I understand what you're saying. When you're talking about Odell Beckham Jr. or Michael Thomas, it's kind of like, you know, either one. You're kind of getting the same product to me,
Yeah.
you know. Dre brings it up here. Michael Thomas, with his history with the I word, really doesn't make sense to me. I said the same thing on Easter Sunday last year in 2023 when we picked up Odell Beckham Jr. I said it didn't make sense. I was on record. I made a YouTube short about how I hated the move. And in hindsight, I can't say that I necessarily hate what he did for Baltimore. I mean, I like it. I didn't love it. I want game-breaking ability. When I think of bringing in a wide receiver from free agency, my mind always goes to Anquan Bolden. I'm sorry, but it does. The way that Anquan Bolden was able to come into Baltimore and be a game breaker offense all the way throughout the playoffs and to the Super Bowl, that's the type of player we need to be going after. That's why I was clamoring for a DeAndre Hopkins last season. Clamoring for him. I think that he could have, oh my goodness, he could have produced way more on this offense than Odell Beckham Jr. Again, no slight to Odell Beckham Jr., no slight to OBJ. But in terms of the production of this offense, I mean, I just think that a D-Hop would have boded way better than an OBJ did. And Michael Thomas, no, I'm sorry, but no. I would much rather us not get a veteran wide receiver who we feel like we have to kind of force targets to, which would take away targets from our younger guys like a Zay Flowers, like a Isaiah Likely, like a Rashad Bateman, who's supposed to be getting more targets this season, or whoever we bring in the draft. Plus, again, at the price point, I don't think that Michael Thomas would be cheap. So it just doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, Michael Thomas had similar numbers last season to Rashad Bateman.
Yeah.
I mean, what, around 300, 400 yards and 1 touchdown, right? Around 30-something catches. Yeah. We got Bateman at the house, right? For cheap, for at least another year, you know? So I'm not on the Michael Thomas train at all. I agree with Cardi. I hate it. Yeah.
So I just remembered, actually, we traded a 3rd and a 4th for Bolden. So I'm going to go back to this. Good to great wide receivers do not hit free agency. They don't. You're going to have to either trade for one or develop one. And I'm going to go down the free agent receivers right now, and we're going to go by yards. So Michael Pittman Jr., free agent, he's going to get tagged. Calvin Ridley, I think, will hit free agency. He had 1,000 yards last year. Gabe Davis had 746. Rashid Shaheed, 719. Tyler Boyd, 667. T. Higgins, he's getting tagged. Curtis Samuel, 613. Josh Reynolds, Marquise Brown, Noah Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., KJ Osborne, DJ Chark, Chris Moore, Darnell Mooney, Kendrick Bourne. Take your pick.
Go through those names one more time for me.
All right, I'll go a little slower. Michael Pittman Jr., he's going to get tagged, so I'm taking him off.
Yeah.
I think the Colts have already announced they'll tag him. Calvin Ridley, Gabe Davis, Rashid Shaheed, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, going to get tagged. Curtis Samuel, Josh Reynolds, Marquise Brown, Noah Brown, OBJ, KJ Osborne, DJ Chark, Chris Moore, Darnell Mooney, Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, you could have stopped after Chris Moore, to be honest with you.
I would take Kendrick Bourne because he did get hurt last year as like a 3 or a 4, but as a 1, I mean, Calvin Ridley is like the only one who he's like a wide receiver 2 pushing a 1, but he's not a 1 in my opinion. I take him though, but I think it's too much money.
Agree. I mean, Calvin Ridley, he is the only name there that kind of moves the needle for me. And yeah, I mean, I also agree when you're going for a receiver that you're going to spend a pretty significant amount of capital on in the offseason, they need to be a 1 or a 2. They need to be a 1 or a 2. So, I mean, Calvin Ridley, I think that he could be a solid 2. I want to pull up this comment here. This one's coming from Kogan Scherer. Says the Ravens should trade Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman for Tay Adams, Devontae Adams, that is. What do you think about this take here? I mean, because listen, hear me out. Hear Kogan out, right? I mean, you got Isaiah Likely, who's proven to be a top tier tight end if he's involved, right? Bateman, we kind of expendable at this point. We don't really use him to his fullest potential anyway. And bring in a Devontae Adams who is pretty much guaranteed to get open. He's not as old as some of these other guys, right? And he's still got a lot left in the tank, at least to me. Still one of the best route runners in this league, especially if you ask a lot of the other best wide receivers in the league. He's top 3 still. So what would you think about a trade like that?
Devontae Adams' cap hit this year is $25 million. It's $44 million the next 2 years. Leaving it there. We do not have the money. I would love that to happen. And trading Andrews, aka Lamar Jackson's best friend on the team, not a good move. I would love Devontae Adams, but I don't see how you're going to be able to pay him, pay Lamar, and still, make other signings to make this team competitive. There's a reason why the Raiders still aren't good. They have all these guys with high contracts. Who's their quarterback? So, I mean, if we can make rework a deal, that's different. But I understand what you're saying about the Andrews and the Bateman, but yeah, I don't think it happens.
I don't think it happens either. That's a very drastic move that I don't see Eric DaCosta pulling the trigger on, even if it was right in front of his face. But yeah, I think it was worth bringing it up. I mean, because what is it gonna take offensively for the Ravens to get over the hump? Honestly, a lot of people wouldn't even think that it's personnel. A lot of people would think that it's coaching, right? It's philosophy, right? It's just the situational awareness or the lack of situational awareness that's been displayed by our coaches in very important high profile games over the past couple of seasons. That's really, really hurt us, So like, I honestly thought we had a chance to go all the way with what we had last year. And, you see what happened. Just kind of bad decision making. Another super chat donation. This one's coming again from Cash Cardi, dropping another 5-piece in the chat. Thank you so much, Cash Cardi, man. Going crazy tonight. I like the receivers no one is thinking of. Tyler Boyd and Hollywood. Zay and Bateman work the outside. Boyd or Hollywood in the slot.
If I'm looking for a cheap, I'd take Greg Dortch as like a slot or a returner, and you can let Duvernay walk. He's a really good returner. Put up some good numbers end of the year last year. I'd think Boyd and Hollywood. I just think that we're not going to be paying that money for them. Probably looking at one of the lower guys and give them like a 1 year, $3 to $5 million deal. I think we're talking about the wrong position in free agency. I think we should talk about running back in free agency.
I was just thinking that.
Here's my thing. You draft your good receivers, and you can get your running backs in free agency. That's where my philosophy is at, because you're seeing how much look how much Christian Kirk went for. 4 years, $85 million. If you think the Ravens are ever going to spend $80 million on a free agent wide receiver, it's not going to happen.
You're
there's
right.
a better chance of the bank having one fan in there. It's not going to happen.
That's a fabulous point. The market for wide receivers is way too high, way too expensive right now for a primarily running football team to justify spending that type of capital. That's why I had the issue with going out and getting an Odell Beckham Jr. because I was going to say, if you're going to spend that much money, why go get a guy who we know is I-word prone and we know is not going to be able to produce on the level of a wide receiver 1 fringe 2? You know what I mean? If you ask me, Odell performed at a wide receiver 3 level last season. Had a couple, big important plays and some key moments, but nothing. He never took over a game. He might have taken over a drive or two, but he never took over a game. So I agree with you, man. Draft your wide receivers because you can get them cheap for the first 3, 4 to 5 years, and then go out in free agency and get your running backs. I agree, 100%.
So we're talking about the running backs right now, actually. I'm going to go down. So the first name to say, I'm going by rushing yards. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Devin Singletary, Gus Edwards, Josh Jacobs, Zach Moss, Alexander Madison, Ezekiel Elliott, Austin Eckler, and then A.J. Dillon. So everybody who I said besides A.J. Dillon had over 500 rushing yards. So you can take that in the mind. There are some names in there that I would not hate at all. I don't think they cost that much money. A couple of names on there. So,
yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, especially with us being a running football team, you guys can say hello to my dog. He is here in full effect tonight. Say hello. Hey, he's a big boy and he likes attention.
Hello to the Rain Gang.
He likes a lot of attention. Yeah, he's part of the Rain Gang. Say hello to the Rain Gang, boy. He says
That's
hi.
what we love.
Anywho, yeah, I mean, let me see. I saw a comment in here from my guy Andrew talking about Josh Jacobs. He says he wants Josh Jacobs. We talked about him a little bit last episode as well. I thought about it because you brought it to me originally, and I've kind of come around to the idea of bringing in a Josh Jacobs, but even still, man, I'm still kind of on that Derrick Henry train, only because of just the threat of the run. Come on, boy, you got to go now. Come on, you're doing too much. Get down. Go. Anywho, I know he doesn't like the neglect, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, I was coming around to the idea of Josh Jacobs, but still that threat of Derrick Henry in the backfield, man. 6'3", 250. Is he going to go up the middle, or is Lamar Jackson going to keep it and go up the sideline on you? That is, oh my God, the way that would put defenses in such a bind, man. I can't even wrap my mind around how the Ravens wouldn't even want to try to pursue that. You know what I mean, Alex? Like it's just the threat, the sheer threat. Yeah.
You're probably going to stack your line with your big guys. So if Lamar takes off, only guys who I think can catch him will be your DBs who are fast enough to catch him, because the guys up front are going to catch Lamar.
Exactly.
I do like that.
And imagine how loaded the box is going to be.
Agreed. Like third and short, fourth and short, goal line. So a name on that list I said, Devin Singletary.
Okay.
898 rushing yards, had 4.1 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns, 30 catches, 193 yards. This is such a Ravens move. I prefer a Henry or a Saquon or a Jacobs, but if their prices are getting too crazy, I wouldn't hate a Singletary. I didn't realize he had that solid of a season. Had a game with no carries, so in 16 games he put up 900 yards. Not bad, but I'm right there with you. Thinking about the Henry and Lamar tandem, and I think who brought up the comment? Theo Pennell, why would you want to run it back if you don't use it in the most important game of the season? Explain it to me. Why do we sign Dalvin Cook? And you can say that for multiple playoff games. It's been multiple years where the running game goes non-existent. It's like, so if we sign one to a good amount of money, will we be forced to use them? Same way it felt like we were forcing to throw to Odell at times because we're paying him $16-17 million. If you're paying Derrick Henry,
changes the philosophy of the offense.
Are you going to run it with him? Maybe that's what we needed.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I mean, Theo Pennell says, why do you want to running back if we don't use it? I just think that, again, if we have a Derrick Henry from week 1, right, and we get to kind of work him in, mix him into this offense, eventually it's going to get to a point where we are using him as, I'm not going to say a bell cow back, a 3-down back, nothing like that. But situationally, he's going to get at least, I'd say, 7 to 9 carries a game, something like that. And that's huge, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now, I think my top 3, I'll go. I still have Saquon 1, Henry 2, Jacobs 3, but any 3 of them, I'm probably jumping over a couch doing a cartwheel and attempting a backflip if they were a Raven. Just paired up with Lamar, I'm gonna be excited.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let me see what else you guys are saying here in the chat. Let me see. Mod Boz in the house says Henry and Lamar would make me feel like my profile pic. What's the profile pic? I can't even see. It's kind of small.
It's Winnie the Pooh, depressed, sitting by the pond. Boz, don't ruin my childhood like shows I used to watch. All right, Jesus, make your profile picture Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, because that's your next quarterback. How about make it Russ? Let Russ cook. There you go.
Ooh, yeah, Russ no longer a Bronco. Yeah.
Just get ready, Russ in that black and gold. Have fun, Boz.
Russ, you know, I was thinking yesterday. Somebody did the jersey swap with Justin Fields in the Steelers uniform, and just. What are you gonna say?
It was kind of tough. I'm not gonna
It looks kind of sweet. It looks kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. It looks kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. Boz, if you're listening, I mean, Boz,
I don't want to
it
be a
does look
Steeler
kind of cool.
because like I don't feel like playing a running quarterback 2 times a year because I see what the Ravens do with that. I did see though Deontay Johnson might be leaving the Steelers. I know you'll be happy about that, Boz. But yeah, I don't know how Arthur Smith will be as an OC for you guys. Hopefully he's just like Matt Canada. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Brandon, aka Arkansas 501, says, but if the Ravens miss out on one more guy, but they got to get him next year, he went to the University of Arkansas. Raheem Sanders. Okay. 6'2", weighs 237. He was going to come out this year, but he changed his mind. Okay, so we're looking down the road a little bit. Not mad at that. Andrew says, I'm not going to be mad at Josh Jacobs, Henry, or Saquon, though, but don't want DeAndre Swift or Tony Pollard. Okay.
I definitely wouldn't want Pollard. I want to take a look at Swift and see if his numbers were more because of him or more because of the offense. If that makes sense. Was it him or the scheme? Because I can't
don't get me
look at
wrong
his
now.
touchdowns.
DeAndre Swift, I think, could produce in the Ravens offense. We move him around, catching the ball at the backfield. What do you think?
Because I'm gonna look at his stats, and I want to see what he did because I know with his stats, Jalen Hurts stole all the touchdowns as a runner with the Eagles last year. So there was a one Thursday night game I saw, and Swift took over. One of the few Eagles games I actually watched. He went crazy. Let me check his stats out real quick while we have them up.
What's going on, Tanja? Says I'm late. I guess I'm going to be part of the replay game. Yeah, go ahead and rewind for us. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and spin it back. Okay.
So he had 229 carries, 1,049 yards, 4.58 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, 39 catches at the backfield, 214 yards, 1 touchdown. And he is 25. Just turned 25.
Still some juice in the tank. I like it too, man. I think that we do make a big splash at running back this offseason. I know that's been kind of the rumor going into the offseason for the Ravens, but I think it's important, man. I mean, the receiving room, I think we've done a solid job at kind of cultivating a homegrown receiving unit in a Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, who hopefully we can get him more involved, right? But he was getting open. So, I mean, that the whole situation is just weird. It kind of haunts me, to be honest with you. But Isaiah Likely and guys like that, right? I mean, I think I already mentioned Mark Andrews, but that nucleus of receivers, I think is honestly more than good enough. Lamar Jackson, if he can continue to develop chemistry with these guys, especially with a guy like Zay Flowers, if he is on the field next season, that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. And again, take another swing in the draft. I mean, cheap talent, and you never know what you're going to get out of one of these guys in the draft. But make for damn sure you get the archetype that we do not already have, right? You need to get a big body guy. You need to get a strong hands guy, right? A go up 50-50 ball guy. We've been talking about this for years. We still don't have it. Isaiah Likely is the closest thing we have to it, and he's a tight end, right? So it's just, we got it. I agree with what you said, man. Get the receiver in the draft, make the big splash in free agency or trade for a running back, man. I think that's the move for the Ravens, period. Okay.
It feels like we're backwards. We draft the running back, and then we drafted Dobbins second round, and you sign Watkins in free agency, or you sign Seth Roberts, or you sign this guy, that guy. Sign Sammy Watkins again in 2022. Sign Marcus Robinson. So let's flip it around. Maybe if it's not working, you change the philosophy. Really all I got.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into some questions from the Rain Gang here. Make sure you go ahead and drop your questions down below in the comment section. If you're not watching this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast live and you happen to be part of the hashtag Replay Gang, first of all, hello. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining. Make sure you drop your questions, your comments, your concerns, whatever you got down below in the comment section because we like to get to those as well. Offseason is heating up, guys. NFL never stops. It never stops. I thought I had a break. Right, I thought I was going to be able to take a breather from this whole football thing. No, I forgot that it goes straight after the Super Bowl, straight into, combine, free agency,
pro days now,
then draft, pro days, all of it. all of it, right?
Because
Yeah,
Caleb
it's
didn't
the whole
work
thing.
out, Marvin Harrison didn't work out. You gotta see those guys.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I don't know how if JJ McCarthy goes before Jaden Daniels. I don't see it. I don't understand it. Same with Bo Nix. I don't see how they're first round quarterbacks. Sorry.
Yeah. You see that the quarterback, who's the quarterback from is it Texas? Is it Texas the quarterback, or is it Tennessee? Might have been Tennessee quarterback. Joe Milton.
Yes. What about
You see, excuse me, the throw he made was like a 60, 70-yard
Yeah.
bomb or something like that.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. I did see
And
that.
then he had like the hardest throw on like the little 10-yard thing where they threw. I mean, really doesn't mean much, but it just goes
It
to
gets the
show you got to take
clicks.
right. It gets the clicks, but you got to give everything that happens in the combine. You got to take it with a grain of salt, right? Because we saw
You do.
year and year, again, it's just we see a crazy highlight in the combine, and the guy gets into the league and he doesn't do anything. I mean, the biggest one that kind of stands out to me is Zach Wilson, right? A couple years ago when he takes that snap and then kind of rolls out to his left, spins around and throws it across his body like 50 yards downfield.
Yeah.
We really haven't seen that type of special or magic in the league, right? So again, take everything you see at the combine with a grain of salt. Let me
I'll say
see.
this though.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
gonna roll the clock back 10 years. I was a
Okay.
huge fan of Johnny Manziel. Obviously, I have his signed jersey right over here. You can't see it.
Hmm.
Looking at the way he was built and looking at everything, I don't know why the Browns thought it was a good idea. He was a first round pick. Like when it's obviously you look back like why was he the same reason I can say why was Zach Wilson drafted second. Like it's just all it's hindsight. But yeah, you're right about the combine. People fall in love and Trey Lance, third overall pick, back up with the Cowboys, and the biggest one that stands out to me is John Ross because everybody marveled about his speed. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, now he's out the league. That's just
I
how
mean,
it
it's fun to
goes.
use on Madden, right?
That was always the signing in franchise mode. Oh my gosh. Sign
Talk
John
about it.
Ross, jet
Send him on the streak.
sweeps. Yeah, or
Yeah,
slant a streak. He's wide open. Get him a little
yeah,
superstar development. There we go.
yeah. Um, no, yeah. I mean, speaking of Madden, do you think that they'll put Xavier Worthy speed at 99?
97 or 98 because they have to make you play the ultimate team and buy the card if you want that
True.
over the speed to go up.
That's true. That's true. But no, what you said about Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, I think that the reason why he went first overall is because certain players coming out of college have this sort of aura around them. On top of already being good players, there's certain players that just have like, sort of that bubble around them where they're more than just a football player. Johnny Manziel was more than just a football player. Like he was huge in the media. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like going around, he met LeBron and was hanging out with
Drake.
all his people, Drake, right, partying and whatnot. Kind of larger than life, right? Um, another one that comes to mind is uh some people might disagree with this, but I could say a Trevor Lawrence as well, for how highly he was touted coming out of college. You know what I mean? Like to see what he's done in the NFL, he's done some pretty cool things. He's done some good
Yeah.
things, but what is he? He's been in the league 3 years now, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Third
3 years
season.
now. And I guarantee you, if you asked, scouts or whoever before he got drafted, they would have predicted that he would have been doing a lot better in this league at this point. So I mean, there's just certain players like I said, coming out of college, they have this kind of like this aura around them, this kind of energy or whatever that the teams really like, and especially because it puts butts in seats, man. On top of being
Mm-hmm.
good at football, you're gonna make a lot of money off of these guys, and I think owners and GMs know that, and that's important. Money makes the world go round.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have another super chat donation to get to though. This one's again coming from Cardi.
Cardi. Goodness
Making it rain,
gracious.
making it rain, pulling up from deep time and time again. Cardi, we appreciate that. Says, I think Eric DeCosta needs to make this big splash and trade for Alvin Kamara and pair him with Keaton Mitchell. That's a scary backfield with Lamar Jackson. What do you think about Kamara and Mitchell in the backfield?
I like it. Kamara's contract, man. Anybody from the Saints is scaring the hell out of me. They are in cap hell. They have to trade Marshawn Lattimore, I believe. They're cutting all these people. They already restructured Carr, restructured Cam Jordan, restructured another one of the D linemen or O linemen. they're in cap hell. Like it's finally caught up to them. They were,
Yeah.
playing these cap gymnastics just to be what 8-9, 9-8, be the definition of mid every single year, and not even make the playoffs in the worst division in the league. Um, I think Kamara his cap hit, I think it's like 15 to 20 mil. Not sure the exact number. It's up there. Only way I'm getting him is if it's a lower contract, but outside of that, man, like you can get him for like a 6th or a 7th, but you have to eat the contract, and we don't have the money to do that. We're not the Patriots with 101 million cap. The Commanders 92 million cap. Um, by the way, I
Yeah.
mean, Kamara the Commanders. No, they have Brian Robinson. Never mind. Take it back. Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah. Let's see. We got another one. Just absolutely making it rain here. Just absolutely making it rain here. Cash Cardi,
Ray Allen,
Steph Cardi, whatever you want to call him, man. I mean, he's just pulling up from the parking lot. He says, I also got to get this out. Trade Marlon Humphrey. He barely played last year, and when he did, he got destroyed. It's time to move on and put more development into Brandon Stevens and draft another corner. I can't say he got destroyed consistently. I mean, there were a couple plays where, of course, he got beat, he got burned. The one that really comes to mind is his first game back when Pickens had that game-winning touchdown on us. That one stings really, really bad still to this day. Probably just because it's the Steelers, but trade Marlon. I mean, he is top 3 highest paid players on this team. So I get what you're saying. And Brandon Stevens, he had a hell of a year. He stepped up in a big way, and a big shout out to him. But I don't know. I don't see us trading again. These drastic moves, I don't see the Ravens making them, like trading a Marlon Humphrey, trading a Mark Andrews. Like I think we're comfortable with the guys that we got. I think we give it another go. So I understand your take, Cardi. I do. We appreciate your super chat donation, but respectfully, I gotta say you're tripping on this one, bro. I gotta say you're tripping on this one. I think that the Ravens, they are in lockstep with Marlon Humphrey and keeping him in as a Baltimore Raven. What do you think, though?
I like the second part, though. I would like us to extend Brandon Stevens. I think he's earned it after he played last year. I think he really stepped up to be a good defense DB. Honestly, he was covering the ones most of the time because when Humphrey wasn't there, and having healthy Stevens and healthy Humphrey, that's a good one too. And then for drafting corners, I just thought about it today. Pepe Williams and Jalen Armour Davis, 2 4th-round picks from 2 years ago. What have they done? Nothing. Thank God for Isaiah Likely and that 4th-rounder and Jordan Stout. I mean, Kolar showed flashes last year, but we drafted all these guys in the 4th, and those 2 guys really aren't doing much. So once again, here we are regurgitating the same topics. Need them to show up in training camp and in preseason because we need some depth defensively in the DB room. I'm not opposed to bringing Millette or Darby back. One of the 2, I'll take them back. But I definitely think you got to draft a corner again. Caillou Blue Kelly, we drafted him last year. We let him go after preseason. So we were missing on these late round DBs that we need to be hitting one for depth. The biggest part, but yeah, up to the scouting and up to EDC, hopefully cooking.
Yeah, and Cardi brings up the point here. It says, I only say that because he got beat in big moments that absolutely killed us.
I remember another one. Puka Nakua was
go
cooking
ahead.
him. Puka was cooking that rain game.
Oh yeah,
I saw that in real time. Slip. Yeah, Puka. That's Puka.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, I want to say Humphrey wasn't fully healthy. I really, he wasn't 100%. I was listening to his podcast. He even said he was fighting through pain after every game. So, off-season, him getting healthy, and hopefully he stays healthy. Unfortunately, he got hurt right before the season.
The only reason why it's so unfortunate that he has these kind of the I words and then getting beat from time to time is because he's making so much money. I think there would be a lot more leeway with a guy maybe like a Brandon Stevens who hasn't gotten the big contract like Marlon Humphrey has, and we'd give him more grace, right? But Marlon Humphrey, when you're making the bag like that, kind of similar to like a Ronnie Stanley, the magnifying glass is on you because you're taking up a big piece of the pie here, and pieces of that pie that could be going to other players who are, you know, a little bit more productive, who can be a little bit more productive.
Okay.
Let me see here. Yeah, Justin Madubuike. We're gonna have to get ready to pay guys, a lot more guys who have been stepping up, who deserve a bigger piece of that pie. We're gonna have to start paying those guys soon. So I do understand what you're saying, Cardi. I'll take back what I said. I don't think you're tripping. But I do think that the Ravens will give Marlon Humphrey at least, you know, one more year. If he goes into the season healthy, I think that he's gonna get another shot, and I think he'll be good. I think because I still have faith in him. Let me see. Raven Ron in the house. What's going on, Raven Ron? Appreciate you for coming through. Says with Mike Evans gone, he's off the table, right? I mean, 2 years, $52 million with the Bucks. He's staying there. Should we try to trade for JJ and let Beast walk? And by JJ, I assume you mean Jettas.
Jefferson, boy,
himself.
I don't think they let him walk. I don't think the Vikings let him. I mean, if they did, they'd be fools. Wouldn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was a trade-off we had to make, I just sat here and said Devontae's cap hit's crazy, but Justin Jefferson's will be honestly 30 to 35.
Yeah, and if you bring him in at 30 to 35 million a year, then the offensive philosophy has to change and has to shift towards getting him the football, even more so than what we did with an Odell Beckham Jr., you know? So, yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the right move for the Ravens, especially considering how we like to play, how we like to scheme our offense. It still needs to be predicated on the run, and everything comes off of that. You know, we didn't get that in the AFC Championship game. That's why we damn lost. We lost that game because we did not follow our own blueprint, you know? So I don't think getting in a mega star wide receiver like a Justin Jefferson, who's going to expect his targets, the media is going to expect him to get targets. Lamar Jackson's going to feel pressure, and we know Lamar Jackson can feel pressured. He can feel pressured into doing things or not doing things. We know that. I think it would just be too much on this organization. Not to say that Jettis is like a diva or anything like that, but just his talent, his talent in our space in the Baltimore Ravens is just, I don't think it would fit as well as people think it does. And letting Madubuike walk, just no. I mean, a defensive tackle, top 10 in sacks, you cannot let that walk. That is too valuable.
Yeah, I think Jettis is a Viking this year. Next year is maybe where the trade market heats up even more.
Yeah. Devon Johnson saying hashtag replay game. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kind of switching gears here. Before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you something. Did you happen to catch the Jake Paul fight this past weekend?
I didn't even know there was one. Like, I didn't see anything about it.
Me neither. I had no idea that they were fighting until after the fight was over and somebody posted highlights on Instagram. It was like House of Highlights or something like that.
Yes,
posted on Instagram. Yeah. And he fought some dude named Ryan Borland or something like that. And apparently the guy was like a former Golden Gloves, and he was like 17-2 going into that fight. But it damn sure didn't look like it. And, you know, credit to Jake Paul because he knows how to pick his opponents. He's very strategic with that. I think he only has one loss, and that was to Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's younger brother. But it'll be interesting to see who he fights next because I think he knows what he's doing. He knows he's going to fight these tomato can guys. And then after he knocks them out, right, he's going to get a whole bunch of backlash on social media. So like, oh, yeah, you're fighting nobodies. Make sure you fight somebody good, an actual boxer. So I think the next fight he has will be against somebody a little bit more legitimate, somebody with a little bit more of a name, and we'll get to see a more competitive fight. But I only wanted to touch on that. UFC 299 is this weekend. Your boy Sean O'Malley is fighting Cheeto Vera.
My other boys.
That's not your boy? You don't like Sean O'Malley?
I like Sean O'Malley. Kevin Holland's my favorite fighter. I love him.
Big mouth. Well, listen, Kevin Holland's going to have his hands full because he's fighting an absolute animal in Michael Venom Page. Have you seen Michael Venom Page highlights?
I have, and I checked his odds. I'm like, why is he a minus 150 favorite?
Who? Holland?
Holland. And I'm like, because, I was thinking about sprinkle. I haven't bet since the Super Bowl. I was like, maybe. And I'm like, oh, minus 150. I'm like, that's too risky for me. Not really making that much. But it's going to be a good card, man. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
Clearing a schedule off for that one.
Oh, what's it again?
I'm clearing a schedule off. Like nothing. I will not be available Saturday night. I know what I'm doing.
Oh yeah.
Watch UFC 299. Got it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of good fights on that card now that I'm thinking about it. Kind of drawing a blank on Who else is on the card? Let me pull it up really quick because there's a couple other
Poirier
bangers on that one.
and Saint
Right,
Denis.
Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis. Who else is on it?
Gilbert Burns and JDM.
Dorino Burns versus Jack Madalena. That's going to be a good fight as well. I mean,
Peter Yan against my favorite name in UFC, Song Yadong.
Song Yadong. Yeah, Peter Yan. He was honestly one of my favorite fighters in his prime. I think he's kind of fallen out of his prime in the past couple of years. Had that kind of BS decision loss to Sean O'Malley, and it kind of went downhill from there. Got picked apart by Merab Dvalishvili. But regardless, it's going to be a crazy night of fights. Last week's fights, the fight night card, kind of ass, in my opinion, to be honest with you. Yeah, and then next weekend's cards are kind of ass as well. But $299, the pay-per-view, I love it. And then followed by that is going to be UFC 300. That's going to be insane. The card for that, I don't know if you've seen that yet, but the card for that's going to be really good. A lot of casual fans are saying it's not that great. I made a short about it. To the casual fan, it's like, no Conor McGregor, no John Jones, no Israel Adesanya. It's like, what are we really doing here, right?
I'm happy to see Oliveira fight and that Gaethje and Holloway fight. As a casual myself, that's what I'm looking forward to see.
Gaethje, Holloway, and Oliveira are big names that are on that card that I think will bring in a lot of eyes for sure. Me, I'm looking forward to, of course, the main event. I always love seeing Alex Pereira fight. I think he's going to win his fight against Jamal Hill. Yeah. But I think that Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan fight, that one's going to be a banger. That one's going to be a banger. I can't wait for that. Let me see here. Devon Johnson says, #replay gang. Shout out to you, bro. Let me see. Raven Ron says, should Caitlin Clark be the first millionaire salary WNBA player? So Caitlin Clark just broke the record for most points in NCAA basketball, men or women. Followed by Pistol Pete Maravich, which is huge. That's huge. Now, of course, most NBA players, star NBA players, they leave college after a year or two, so they don't really get to get that points record. But of course, Caitlin Clark decided to stay, and she got the record. So shout out to her. She is incredible. I don't know if you've seen any of her highlights, any of her tape, but she's one of a kind. She's special, and I think she's going to draw a lot of eyes to the WNBA. So with that being said, I mean, I don't think it will. I don't think it'll happen. See, she's not going to get paid by the WNBA that much, but those sponsorships, those brand deals, those endorsements, those are going to go. Oh my goodness!
I mean, the thing they put in Iowa of like her shooting, like across the street was like the basket. Yeah, like that type of branding is like unreal. I definitely think she'll be pulling that in easily in deals, and I saw like she's selling out, more college games, women's and men's. I saw even when Iowa played Maryland, I think it was the only game Maryland sold out this year, probably between men's and women's, was when Iowa came because everybody wanted to see her play. It's insane.
Yeah. Did you see Travis Scott went to her game yesterday? Yeah.
And then he just casually daps up Jake from State Farm sitting courtside.
Yeah, I saw that.
What is Jake from State Farm doing?
Jake, I saw somebody make a tweet about Jake from State Farm. They're like, yeah, he's kind of locked into that role now. Like everybody's gonna know him as Jake. His name's probably like fucking Christopher or something like that. But like he's just like known as Jake from State Farm. Yeah, I mean, but
get the bag. I'm mad at it.
Right, I'm about to say he's getting a bag. People don't know his real name. I mean, that's not that bad. You know what I mean? No, I mean, people just gonna call him Jake from State Farm, and you just kind of laugh it off. But yeah, Caitlin Clark, man, I think that she will bring a lot more eyes to the WNBA, including my two set of eyes right here, or just not my two set, but my one set of eyes right here. I will be watching Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, regardless of where she's drafted to, because I want to see if that game translates. And a lot of WNBA players and older, retired WNBA players are saying, her game might not translate all as well as you think it will. So I'll be tuned in to see that. But yeah, man, Caitlin Clark is just amazing. She's amazing, and I can't wait to see her play more basketball. But okay, we're gonna go ahead and leave it there for the question segment and this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming out and listening, rocking out with us for 227 episodes. You guys have been truly amazing. Hopefully we can continue to keep this going. Make sure you like the video so we can do that. Subscribe to the channel as well. We greatly appreciate it. Again, like my guy Alex led the show with, you can go on manscaped.com, fill your cart up to the ceiling, sky high.
Yep.
If you may.
Boy.
And if you want to, if you want to save yourself some money, and we all like saving ourselves a little coin, right? Every now and then, you can type in PRP at checkout and you're going to save yourself 20% off your Manscaped order. Plus, you get free international shipping. So no matter where you live on this earth, we've got some viewers in Canada. We've got some viewers over in the UK. We've got some viewers in Africa. Wherever you are, you can buy Manscaped and save money and get free international shipping with our code PRP. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def, like you see down below. And my guy over here, my co-host, Simply AS10. You can find him on Twitter at Simply AS10 or on Instagram at simplyas10.prod. Again, we love you guys. We appreciate y'all for coming out, rocking out with us, even in the off season when there's no football being played. You guys are still here, still commentating, still donating. We love that. We appreciate that. The engagement is just unreal. And we've been doing this for what, 3 years now? Almost 4 years?
Almost, it'll be 4 November.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So we appreciate all of you guys have done for us, all the support. We really, really do. We can't thank you enough. With that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank y'all for coming through episode 227 of the Purple Rain Podcast. As always, stay positive. Test negative.
Yeah, and never ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been episode 227 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.